everyone, I'm Isabella.
And I'm Carmela, and welcome back to 20s Unleashed. Today we are joined by another special guest, Sara, who also brought the breakfast for us.
Yes. Vegan or almost vegan brownies.
Gluten-free brownies.
Lactose-free.
Yeah, lactose-free. Yeah, like adapt for everybody. So, Sara, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Sara, and I'm a student of philosophy and history in University of Lausanne. And sometimes I also write for a newspaper in Ticino, some articles of whatever I want.
Okay.
And so thank you.
Yeah. So we wanted to start off today by kind of discussing hobbies and passions. And I don't know if you have an opinion on the difference or the similarities or what a hobby is to you.
I think that hobbies probably are more related to what do you do, and passions probably, I don't know, I feel like when you are passionate about something, it can be also not forcefully an activity, but I think it can also be like, I don't know, a color, for example, or just to see something. And I think you can recognize when someone is passionate about something because, I don't know, I think you can see that the light in their eyes when they are talking about it. And so I think that it can be the main difference.
Yeah, true. Would you consider writing a passion or a hobby for you?
A passion, but sometimes, for example, when I have to write for university or even for the newspaper, I think it's more a hobby because it's more practical and I have to do it.
Okay,
so for the newspaper, no, but...
And do you write also like for yourself?
Yes, sometimes, if I have the time. I started one time, I think during the COVID, because I had nothing to do. It was just something that I also did when I was a kid, because I like to write stories. And during the COVID, I started to write at the end of the day what I did.
Kind of journal?
Also my thoughts. My thoughts.
And are you doing it like still right now?
Sometimes, but it's difficult because at the end of the day I'm very tired.
I think that's one of the main problems, especially towards the end of the semester. Your free time gets a little less, and so you can't really do everything.
But then I think it's important, like for me it was important to choose also some, because at university I have the possibility to choose like some options. And there was this course of creative writing, I think. And so I think it gives me the opportunity to had the time because I had to write every week a new thing. And so I had to do it. And so I think that also find your place to...
Yeah, that's true.
And what will you consider a passion for you? Like, do you have any passions?
Yeah, and I think this is interesting because I thought a lot about this year because I realized that I used to say, like, if someone asked me, what's your passion or your hobbies, I used to answer the same thing just because I was used to it, but not because I was actually cultivating this passion because of lack of time And I realized this because other people gave me many things, but I felt that I wasn't giving them the same things, or I was not nourishing myself with some passions. And so I felt that I was useless for other people because I couldn't give them anything, you know, and so I started to realize that passion probably is something that you have to cultivate for yourself, but it's also important for the relation with other people and not just like something for yourself.
That's true.
I don't know.
But I completely agree with that. I think it's so easy to fall into like a routine of just answering every time the same things, like, I'm interested in this and this. And you're like, okay, and then you actually think about it and you're like, but do I actually spend time doing this? And like expanding it further, because things, you have to still bring them further. They can't just stay in the moment. you know?
Yeah, and they also can change during time.
as
Or,
well.
for example, you can rediscover a passion that you have
Years ago,
And I think this is very interesting because I realized that some passion that I have actually when I was very little are still my passions, and I don't know if
you kind of lost them along the way, maybe.
Yeah, I forgot. Or just they were there, but
could you give an example?
For example, the first book that my parents gave me when I was little, it was a book about stars and the universe, and this is something that has always interested me, but not much in a scientific way because I don't have this. But more in general. And then last semester I had a course of history of cosmology.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I rediscovered it. And I think that maybe in some way, I don't know, it's something that I will do also in the future. Because I understand that it's not something that it's also only about science, but you can approach it in a historical or philosophical way. And so this, I think, is very interesting to understand that passions are also, I don't know, you can regulate them.
I mean, they come and go, and
But it's true. I mean, and now I can't think of anything, but sometimes, you know, like, you, even throughout university, and you think, okay, maybe I won't rediscover a passion through one of my courses, but, like, even the professor might say that one thing, and you're like, oh, and it, like, clicks a little in your head, and you're like, oh wait, this is really interesting, and then you sort of discover something new. Or even just talking with people, I think there's always something that also somebody says.
Discovering new things, talking with other people also is so important. In this sense, I think that passions are not just personal, but
exactly, you have to share them. Because you can always like inspire people. By sharing your passion. I think it's very cool.
We actually, a few weeks ago, had a conversation, the two of us, on hobbies and becoming boring. And the idea of that if you don't do anything interesting, you are boring to other people. Is this also something that you think about, or?
But yes, I think that this was a bit also in the sense that if you don't do many things, you are boring for the people.
I mean that you're not interesting.
Probably yes. I think it's something that is a general feeling. We have to do many things, and probably it's a bit trivial what I want to say. But if you do the right things for you, then you are probably interesting for other people because you are actually passionate.
I agree.
But as you said, I mean, you need time to cultivate your passions and your hobbies and the problem is that you, as university students, we may forgot to find time for that. Time in cultivating our hobbies and passions, it's time for us and it's important. And sometimes I have the feeling that we tend to forget to take time for us.
I think we have to oblige ourselves to do it. But I think also that sometimes is good to put aside a bit something that was our passion, but it's just giving us stress.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because, for example, for the newspaper last semester, I wrote I think just one article because I felt like a pressure, not of writing, but like I was inspired. I wasn't inspired, but because of also that I felt that I lost my passions. I wasn't giving other people anything, and so I felt a bit lost. And so I thought also that I couldn't write interesting articles for myself.
But I think it's normal to have little ups and downs, and also because sometimes, it's hard to cultivate more than one passion at the same time, and so maybe something else came up and one slightly drops, and then you sort of find your equilibrium in the end. But I think
and so I think it's important to sometimes understand that one passion is not the moment for this passion to grow, be cultivated. And then when you are inspired again, you'll do it and even better maybe.
Probably better.
Absolutely, yes.
How did the whole newspaper thing come about?
So first, it's not a very big thing.
But like
and
I don't have
a certificate or anything. And I think this is interesting because you can write in a newspaper even if you don't have a certificate.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask, because I have no idea how it works, and I have no idea if it's competitive. Maybe many people want to write and they say, no, we can only take certain amount of people or a certain amount
actually, I don't know, because I think that they manage all this and I don't know. I just did 2 internships, different internships, and then they asked me to continue to write if I had some ideas so if I have an idea, I propose to the
agency.
Not yet, but actually I wrote to WhatsApp to this person, and he's always very enthusiastic, but because he's like that as a person, and he always say that I can, that my ideas are good, or even the only time that they told me I couldn't write something was because they always were writing it. So but in general, I'm very free. Sometimes I just wrote something
that's nice.
What do you write about usually?
It depends, but most because I am in Lausanne, I think sometimes I wrote things that are related to university, or I like to write about the young generation, because I think that there are not many journalists that write about it. And so I think it's important also to write about it, and it's interesting for me because I am part of this young generation.
You sort of understand it as well.
And it's also a way to understand better what I live. And I have the opportunity to do that. So this is interesting. Because
sorry.
No, go on.
But I also think the fact that you can kind of choose when to write allows it to remain a passion and not just this stress. And like you said, if you don't feel inspired, you don't write. But at least having the choice means that you still do it when you want to, when you have time, when you feel like.
And this is very, very useful.
Also because I think when you produce something like either writing or making music, like composing, you can say it? Composing, sorry. When you are inspired, the quality of your the product, your output is way higher. And so with writing, I think it's the same. I mean, if you're not inspired, you can like spend hours, and maybe the day you are like, okay, I have a good idea, I just try, and like the output is way better.
Because I think also that maybe for yourself, what you write in a certain moment that you are very inspired is actually a good writing, for example, but maybe for other people, not necessarily. But I think it's important that for you, if you are inspired, but I think it's true, when you are inspired, you feel at least yourself that what you
and it's easier to have ideas, I think.
But
I mean, we can see it ourselves with the podcast. Sometimes we are very inspired, and then a lot of ideas come, and we can do that, we can talk about that, and sometimes we're just looking at like what are we gonna talk today.
This you see, now you have the light in your eyes that I was talking before.
No, it's true. You can really, but even how a person like uses their body language and everything, you can see when they truly are interested in something or passionate about something, really like have that. And it's even more interesting to listen to them then, because you're like, oh wow, like this person really cares about that. And so
and on that line, I notice a lot when a professor is passionate about the subject he's like teaching, and that's the best way to teach someone something. It's when you believe in it, when you are passionate. And I mean, you can you can just transmit how you, like as you said, like with the body language, and you see the light in the eyes, and you're like, okay, maybe the subject is not the most interesting, but the way he or she is teaching it, you just kind of like it. And so I completely agree.
And I don't know if you had this impression, but here at university for me, and I was a bit
you were disappointed
about this, is that not many professors have
like
passion. And also it was strange because a subject like philosophy or history, I don't know, for me should be something that you teach with passion.
Yeah,
at
yeah,
university.
that kind of
So
subjects, absolutely.
It was strange for me, and I was disappointed. Yes. But I don't know if for you.
I mean, I have that impression as well. There's always courses that I almost prefer to study by myself because it's like it's more interesting than going to the lecture. Yes. But
yeah, but I think for my in my experience, I had the two extremes.
Okay.
So I had professors who were like just teaching because they kind of have to, which was not the best. But otherwise, we had one professor that comes in mind. He's teaching statistics and microeconomics, and he is crazy. He's passionate. One, two, he's also publishing. In fact, in his free time, he's doing like videos. He's explaining. He does TED Talks, and so he's very into it. I mean, he's a teacher, but beside that, he continues to cultivate this. And
on
you really
the side as well.
and you can really see that statistics like is his passion. And I think, I mean,
there wasn't one student who didn't like that professor.
Exactly.
I don't think.
Yes. I mean,
and many people don't like statistics.
I know. Exactly. Yes. When I came at university at first, I was so scared about like microeconomics. But the way I mean, it was among my best exams I've ever done in university.
When it's taught the right way, you have more interest in learning it as well.
And you appropriate the material.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
No, definitely. Is writing something that you see yourself continuing in the future as well?
I would love to do so, but I don't know in what way.
Yeah.
There are also different kind of writings, so for newspapers or just for yourself or books. I also, this is the idea. I would love to write a book, but I think it will be like, I would like that this is also a passion, because when you make a passion your work, your job, I think it changes a bit also.
Because you also do it because you have to.
Yes, and also it is related to the economic part, because you have to do it also because you have to gain.
I think you definitely see it in a different light. Yeah.
So I don't know. I will love to continue writing, maybe also as a job, somehow. I don't know how, but also keep a different kind of writing for myself, because it just
sort of separate the two.
Yes. But I think I love to write because it gives me the opportunity to be aware of my thought, and I don't know many other. Also, I don't know, doing a podcast for you maybe is this a bit. I don't know. Because
kind of. I mean, it's less intimate. I think.
Yes.
Because I also write a journal, and I think it's very helpful.
Yeah.
But I cannot speak to the public about my thought, because sometimes they're really personal.
Yes.
But I think it's helpful, and also I think it helps also keep the handwriting. You know, I only write with my hand on my journal because I'm used to use the computer or the iPad, and in this society we're kind of losing the handwriting. I speak like a 50 years old, but I mean it's true now. Yeah. And it's a way to keep it. And do you write?
You probably write on the computer a lot as well, no?
Yes, because for university, also for articles, yes. Yeah. But then I also like to write to hand. Yeah. Because I'm in my bed. And I also like to choose a good journal that looks good. I don't know, it gives me the right mood to go into it.
I really also when something looks kind of nice, or I don't know, you sort of it's your little thing.
Yes. And then I loved to when I go somewhere to buy a new journal, because it also it's related to a memory.
Do you already know what kind of book you want to write? Not what idea, but
So I think it depends, but I think these are very big.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know if I will ever do it.
Yeah.
But I would like to put together something more philosophical or metaphorical.
Yeah.
With like more fantasy world, but not just fantasy with battles and all this, but just like maybe little stories that are like allegories or something like that. That is very imagery.
Yeah.
And
nice.
What's your master exactly about?
Your
master. Philosophy and
history.
And history.
Yes,
okay.
It's not very specific.
Okay.
There's just a list of.
And are you also used to write in other languages than Italian?
French. In my course are always in French.
Okay.
So yes, when I went to London after high school, there I was surrounded by English, so I started also in the journal sometimes to write in English or to mix. I think this for Ticino or Italian people that lives here is interesting because, for example, my notes are a mixture of languages. Sometimes it's a bit Italian, French, or even English. And,
No,
very
definitely.
It's
even
confusing.
Verbally, when I just speak, I mix a lot as well. So
but this also, I think, because there are some words that doesn't have the
same meaning.
Yes.
Yeah.
For example, the word enjeu. In French, it doesn't actually exist in Italian. I think. And there are many of these words and there are concepts that doesn't exist in other languages. So I think it completes also.
No, definitely.
Yeah,
that's something that I feel a lot.
There are a lot of words that I use only in English. Yeah. That I put them like in
But
my
even
Italian.
in Italian, it's very much recently. I'm on the phone with my dad, and he's like, "That's not a word." And I'm like, okay, because in French you say like this, and he's like, yeah, you translated from French, but it doesn't exist in Italian. And it's happening so often recently, and my brain is not really.
It's a bit confused.
Yes, also Frenchizing or Englishizing.
Yeah, definitely.
Some words.
But actually, coming back to the whole passions thing.
Sorry.
No. Before recording, we spoke quickly about philosophy, and I said that I really enjoyed philosophy in high school, and it and then you were like, maybe if you did it at university, it wouldn't be that interesting, which is true. At uni, everything is like
not interesting, but it's
you see it in a different way.
Yes.
And but maybe that is something that I should look at again. You never
maybe yes.
So this episode maybe brings back a new.
It's just that sometimes I think. When you discover a passion through maybe someone teaching it to you, it's easy. For example, in high school, you just went to class and you listened. Yeah. Whereas doing it by yourself, it's like, okay, where do I actually go and look for this information?
I agree.
How do I learn about it? I know you can find everything online, but it's also hard to know. You can also find things that bore you. And things that really interest you, and so it's still a process of like learning. Okay, where do I go, and how do I get to where I want to be with this passion?
Yeah, and also like where to get the quality information, quality information, right information. Yes, but I completely agree.
And this is also why I chose also to study philosophy at university, because it's like a guidance. For me, and because sometimes it's difficult to do it by yourself.
Definitely, definitely. I think it's interesting, and I think that you can always
But there are some philosophical books that I think that everyone could read, and for example, there is Seneca, which is an ancient author. But wrote for instance, La brevità della vita.
I'm not the English speaker here.
And it talks about that you have to appreciate every moment, and it doesn't matter how long it is your life or the moment of your life, but how you live
the shortness of life. I guess is the translation.
Okay. It doesn't matter how short or long is your life, but
how you live it. Yes. I think that's really important. And I think it's easy to get lost in that. There's so many things that you have to kind of do throughout life. And you know, so like how you live life, I mean, even there's obviously going to be things that you don't want to do, but you have to do. And so it's sometimes easy to get lost in everything that you have to do, and you don't take time and do things for yourself, which in the end is that. But like, that's what counts. That's what you're going to remember.
Exactly, yes.
You know, but I think it's really, you know, like you said, you think and you're like, okay, but am I actually cultivating my passions? Yeah. And, you know, maybe you think you are, but when you really stop to think about it, you're like, oh no, I'm not.
Yes. And if you reach a point where you actually do not cultivate your passion, I think you are actually lost, because these are an important part of our identity.
I agree.
And if you lose this identity, then it's difficult also to create actually boundaries with other people or...
No, definitely. I mean, it's kind of how you see another person. Like, like you said, when you see that they talk about something with that spark in their eyes, you kind of, you understand who they are and what interests them and like what motivates them. And so you kind of like understand the person better than just their daily tasks, you know? And so it definitely is something that's important.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting when you meet someone and randomly you end up like talking about a subject that the two of you are passionate about, and I think it bonds a lot. Like it creates a good environment and a good like connection between people. And I was thinking like an example, and yesterday I had dinner with a friend of mine who is vegan, and I am vegan. And you know, I mean, we talk about in our society because it's always more like current as topic, but talking with someone who has the same information as you know, as the same like process of like cultivating this kind of lifestyle, I think it's different than just talking about someone to like me that give you information, but you know, I know, and it's just a sharing. But this with like a lot of stuff. I mean, with the podcast in the beginning, when the idea came out, and we were like, okay, we're gonna do that, and we can I think we spent hours like talking about that. So, and it's something that get us like more close, I think.
Definitely.
And also because I think that when someone knows what you are talking about, you can go deeper in the conversation, because you don't have to explain all the surface things, because the other people already know. So
and there's always something that someone else knows, and so you can bring the conversation even further and learn even from each other.
Which is one of the best things.
I also was kind of curious to ask, when you started, because obviously even if it's not that often, but publishing an article and knowing that no matter who can read it, you know, it's kind of in the beginning as well for the episode, I'm like, okay, anybody could listen to this. Was that scary for you in the beginning?
I think that the difference between this and a podcast is that the podcast is more intimate in a certain way. Like articles are not about myself. And so I wasn't scared about that, also because there was someone that had to read them, and then
before
at the beginning, if they were not good, because they were not good at the beginning, were good but not
as good as
I had to correct and to rearrange things. And so I think this made me feel confident to then have them released, because other people approve them. And are people that are doing this as a job. So I'm curious if someone read my articles, because I'm curious to know their opinion, but not on my writing, but on the topic also.
Because you kind of have a feedback before. I mean, you know, if they publish it, it's kind of a good article.
Yes, it's okay. And if there are some mistakes, because sometimes writing typewriting mistakes. Okay. So they correct them, and
that's
it's reassuring.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And do you have like any other passion beside the astrology that you mentioned before?
I like a lot to talk with other people and to have I don't know, to know about them. But probably one of my passion is actually talking about passion, other people's passions, because I actually love to see when someone is passionate. So, but in general, everything that is related with stories can be one of my passions. So, for example, my boyfriend loves to play games on computers. So I've never done this before, but I discovered that there are many games that have a very interesting story. Yeah. And so you can become a part also of the story. Yeah. And also sometimes felt emotion about that. Yeah. It's not one of my passion, but I think it's interesting because it's always related to stories and also other people's stories, as I told you before, other people's passion. And but also just going around, walking. You know, yes. Yeah.
I mean, I love to talk to people too. So I feel that, but no, it's definitely true. I mean, you don't really think about it, but stories kind of are everywhere. You know, and you just kind of got to find which area of the storytelling interests me. Yes. You know, it can be through a book, it can be through a game, it can be through so many different things. But you might not I mean, if you don't know about that, when I think of games, that's maybe not the first thing that pops into my head, but it could be for somebody else. Yes. So yeah.
And have you ever thought about becoming a teacher?
Yes. If I had to do so, it will be I think when I'm older, because first I would like to, I don't know, do many things and try also many things because I don't know them. And I want to experience things. But maybe, I don't know, I would like to do so when I'm in the future. And I also thought if I would teach history or philosophy, and I don't know, I feel more like to teach history. Okay. Sometimes history professor are so as boring.
And you want to change that kind
No, I don't want to change anything. Just if you're passionate about something, as we discussed before, or maybe you can other people passionate about this, but just make a bit boring.
Actually, I do think you could make other people passionate. I really, at least for me, the way a professor presents the course changes everything. There's years where I hate a subject and years where I'm in my first year, I hated accounting. The second year, we had a really good professor, and I was like, oh, it's not so bad, you know? Yeah. It really, the way somebody transmits something to you, you understand the beauty behind it, and then you kind of see it in a different light. And so I think that, it definitely could play a role. Yeah.
And I think this makes me think about another difference in the term passion, because there are passions that are actually inherent in yourself, and are something that is actually part of your identity since you are very little. Yeah. And then there are passions that you can or discover or just someone can transmit to you.
Absolutely.
And I think they are, I don't know what you think, but do you think they are different, or this kind of passion?
I think so. Maybe a passion that you had since you were small sort of comes and goes throughout the years. It's something that you never really lose, you know? But yeah, I think something that is transmitted, at least for me, it might not be, I don't know, I can't think of something that may be stuck. But in for a few months, maybe it was something that I as well wanted to discover more about and things. But
I think maybe it's more natural when you discover it, because it's not kind of imposed. Okay. Because it comes natural when you're young, or maybe one day you just discover philosophy, I don't know, rather than, because the risk, as you said, that when someone transmits it to you, it's easier. I think about the teacher, or but once you're alone and you have to cultivate it by yourself alone, you may lose it, or may just, I don't know, you cannot find the right way to cultivate it.
Yeah.
Rather than when you are the one who discovers it, it's maybe easier to just keep the flow,
There could be a risk that maybe if somebody transmits it to you, when it's then your turn to do it by yourself, you lose it, because they when somebody's really passionate about something, you will listen to them and you'll be like, oh wow, you know, and then maybe you do it by yourself and you're like, it was nicer when they talked about it, you know. I think it really depends on what it is in the situation, but
yes, I agree.
Yeah, because as we said, when someone is passionate about you, I mean, I can like everything depending on the way people just tell me. I mean, I think I mentioned that before in another episode, but I don't know, I'm not very passionate about like history, for example. It's not my thing. But I know that someone very passionate talks to me, I'm like, oh wow, that's very interesting. But then you know, it's just because someone who has the light in the eyes is talking with me. But I would not be able to do that by myself, I think.
And in this way I think it cannot be your passion. It's just that you recognize that another people is passionate about
exactly
it.
Yes.
It's like a momentary interest, maybe.
Also.
But I definitely think you could gain passions from other people. I mean, I probably have as well. I just can't think of an example now, but like, you know, I mean, you speak to people every day and there's always something that someone transmits to you, maybe even unconsciously.
I think
and you sort of start to develop it and you don't really know maybe where the idea came from, but it's always maybe somebody around you that's says it, mentions it, and you hear it in the back of your head, and then it slowly, you know.
So last question, that's a bit hard. But you are a philosophy student, so you can handle it. Where you are 23 years old, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yes, this is very difficult, and probably because I study philosophy.
That's the point.
So in 5 years I will be 28.
Master finished, hopefully.
So I know I see myself working. This is
a very good point.
And I don't know. I think I see myself doing something that I'm passionate about. Or that I try to be passionate about. Because maybe it will be difficult to do as first job or something that I'm very passionate about. But I think also trying to be like forced to find passion in what you are doing also is important, because if you have to do it, so it's better, I think, to do it
with passion.
But concretely, I don't know, and this is a very philosophical answer because it's very also theoretical. I don't know, maybe I would like to also work with other people creating projects for young people in the formation, related to the formation of people.
Like education?
Education, also, yes. Or, everything that is like behind the scenes of, and it is about creating, having ideas and trying to put them into practice. And if this implies also a part of writing, I will be very glad.
But I mean, it seems like you have, you know, a little vision for the future. And I mean, it's impossible to know exactly where you're going to end up. There's more than one way to end up where you projected the scenario right now.
I think the magic of the 20s, not only the 20s, because it's something that you like, it continues all along our lives, but mainly of the 20s is that in 5 years we could be like everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, I think it's amazing to think about that.
It's also scary.
It's very scary.
I don't know, I will be in Africa, I will be in Asia, I will be here.
I think it's exciting because we are lucky. We are very lucky, and we know that we have the opportunities and we can find the way to get wherever we want.
I think one of the things that I think I've mentioned this before, it will be really interesting to see where all the people around me sort of end up and the paths that they take, you know, because there's just infinite opportunities out there, so it'll be kind of fun to see.
But for sure, if you follow your passions, you will end like where you have to.
And about this, I think is also important, because sometimes we feel forced to choose something just because we think, we imagine that this will be important for the future, or just like because a lot of jobs are changing. And so, for example, also choosing some course at university, we choose them because we think that they will be more useful. And I don't know, but sometimes I think it's important to stop to do that and just actually to follow your passion. That this, I don't know, it feels like
like don't make it a must, you know, like also do it because you want to do it and you like.
Yes, because finally I think that a place for us in society that will find.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you follow what motivates you, then probably you'll find something more right for you, and you will be also more right for the job.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I agree.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Sara.
It was a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We hope that you guys liked this episode and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.